Okay, I just noodled through the first 5 exercises in the intermediate book. I played them just, like a long note, sort of smooth and so on. And what I'm asking you to do this morning is to imagine doing that hundreds and hundreds of times from the elementary school through the intermediate school, just getting that sound to be nice and flowing and smooth and easy going. Okay, so after a while, the kids have played that, you can begin, and they've looked at the actual music, you can say to them, hey, why don't you just, you know what it is, you don't need to look at it, just play it and kind of play it like this. And you give them an example, something like that, and they repeat it really pretty easily and quite nicely. So we learned something from that, and it has a lot to do with what can be done to get a band to sound, I think, very, very good. All of those exercises in the book could be played in groups of 4 notes like that and made smoothly, and each time you're improving the length of time that they can play a phrase like that with different intervals and things of that nature. Now I'm going to jump a little bit out of gear here, and I hope this will be possible for you to follow. Early in my career, I was in a middle school in a small town of about 50,000, and our daughter was about 2 years old, and she was a very cute little thing, and I used to take her along with me on little treks to get music and to have horns fixed like that. And I remember one Saturday morning when my wife prettied her up quite well in a nice pressed dress and black patent leather shoes and whatnot. She was about 2 years old, and we were going down to see Alf Modal, who was an instrument repairman. I had some horns to repair, and I let Elizabeth carry a little piccolo case. And we trudged up to the second floor where Alf was, and we got into the room, and she said to Alf, she said, my grandmother says I have a lot of perspicacity. And of course, Alf just cracked up. He couldn't believe it, but his comeback was, he said, well, many people say that I'm a prestidigitator, at which time both of us took the time to have her repeat the words again, and of course she loved it because she was the center of attention and she could spit those out like you wouldn't believe. Well, what I learned from that, I believe, is we don't have to do very much to the physical part that, say, kids are using in order to get something out. In other words, nobody told Elizabeth how much air to use, where to put her tongue, and all of the various mechanics that might be involved in that. Now, if she had speech impediments, then you'd need somebody to correct all those things. But for the most part, you can tell kids, if you just do it this way, the system will kind of figure out how to do it. So you don't have to do much by way of telling them what it's, how to play it smooth, just rather give them an example of it. And I often tell them that the tongue, as an example, is just like a painter's paintbrush. It can start sounds many, many different ways and make them sound different ways. And all you got to do is just really ask for it. You don't have to necessarily tell them exactly where the tongue needs to be in order to get that sound. Okay, so now we have the stage set, and we've played these beginning exercises many times and many of them beyond that. And we've used various articulations on them, slur to, tongue to, and so on, and you've given them an examples of the way you want something to sound. Now, they played them many times, so therefore, we can assume that the intonation is getting better and better, more accurate, and so on. Now you have a tune that you're going to play. And in this case, the one that I'm going to play for you is the 7th and 8th grade band. In the spring of the year at a concert, we had recorded something that was called Dancing Trumpet. And I had the 8th graders and the 7th graders play it together. In other words, there were about 7 or 8 trumpets, and they were all playing in unison. And you can get an idea of what their intonation is like and what their attacks are like and how much they are alike within the group and so on. And that was all done individually in little exercises like this. I just extracted out slur to, tongue to, and played it in a certain style. And then when we got to the actual tune, hopefully it was going to carry over so that the tune sounded, fairly decent. Okay, I'll play that and you can listen to it. It's on the website too as Dancing Trumpet. Well, there it is, Dancing Trumpet. It was a little longer tune than I thought it was, but I think you could hear that the trumpets were well in tune. They articulated very well together, the slurred notes and the tongue notes, and the underneath part of the band, the accompaniment, you could hear that those kids hung on to the sounds, the proper lengths and so on, and really did feel as though they accompanied the lead part. Well, my point here is that you use the warm-up exercises and all of those things, asking for those kinds of style in those actual exercises. Then when you go in something like that comes up in an actual piece, it's much easier to get it to sound in character. And that's one of the ways that I would use the warm-up materials. I knew what the tunes were that we were going to play, and I knew the way I would want them to sound or try to get them to sound. And so that's an example then of using the materials in a little different way than you might think. In other words, they're used to accomplish something musically. Cheers, Don Huffmeister.